What's good? Welcome to another episode of Kiko's P.A.I.N. I'm Kiko Cortez. This is the definitive channel of the Florida chain gang. We're all about turning bad into good and pain into progress. Today, I'm going to tell you about the time I watched a Florida correctional officer get killed in front of me. Crazy story, and there's a whole larger story surrounding it, chronologically needs to be told, and I'm going to get to it. But today, we just wanted to cut to the chase. And, you're tuning into a prison story YouTube channel. You want the craziness, right? So this was crazy. Before I get started, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. You gonna wait to hit the like button to see something you like, or just go ahead and hit it for a play at one time. If you don't understand something I'm talking about, you need clarification, critique, whatever, go ahead and drop that in the comment box below, and I'll take it into consideration, holler back at you, whatnot. But let's get straight into the story, though. Take place 2012, March of 2012. I was at Columbia CI. CI stands for Correctional Institution. That's what every camp in Florida got that CI behind it, at least main camps. You got work camps, all that. We're talking about the main stuff. So, Columbia CI in Lake City, Florida. I was there from April 2011 to approximately March 2013. I got there coming off. I've been on CM. I'm just give you a little bit of background. Like I said, this is a whole story that we're gonna get into. It's like one of my craziest periods in my time, my 24 years. This little 2-year segment in Columbia was real. Like most things, there was a lot of obstacles, but there was a lot of growth. Because that's what when you're tested, that's when you grow. And it was a challenging environment. You know what I'm saying? And I grew a lot out of it. So we're going to get into that. But just to set the stage for this incident here, I had been there going up on a year. This was March. Yeah, it's been 11 months I've been there. I came there from a CM camp. I had just spent the 2 years prior on lockdown. CM, I'm going to do a whole episode on CM, close management. It's what other prison systems call the shoe. I've been here at this camp. I've been hustling. I've been trying to, just make it happen for myself. Not a lot of, support from the streets, except for my mother. There's really nobody in the picture. And so I've been doing a lot of hustling. I took some falls. I got back up again, in and out the box. And at this current time, I'd been out of the box for 2 to 3 months. And I'd had my visitation privileges taken away. So I wasn't able to do what I prefer to do, how I like to get money, which I'm going to tell you all about that. Smuggling drugs through the visitation, that was my hustle. Right now, I couldn't do that. It had been taken away from me because I refused a urine analysis. Again, whole nother story. But now this make it a lot harder to make money, because now I got to go to the people. Instead of being the plug, I got to go to the plug and be like, what's up? Let me get 2 for 3. And I can hustle. I can start sending money to the streets. So this is what I'm doing. I'm hustling. Having a cell phone is everything. It's the one thing that the institution wants us to at least have, because obviously you can have people killed, you can have drugs moved, you can do everything organized off of a cell phone. So they're extremely important to us. And leading up to this time period, I'd lost, I think, 3 phones at this time, and I'd gotten a bit of a target on my back from some of the officers. Like, okay, this is a guy that touches drugs, touches cell phones, he's involved in stuff. Let's keep an eye on this guy. And one of the main officers that was watching me and was on my trail was my dorm sergeant, evening dorm sergeant, Sergeant Thomas. He is the focus of today's video. So fast forward, that's just to set the stage. Again, I had a little bit of personal interaction with this sergeant. He was our dorm sergeant, and didn't particularly like the guy, but that's irrelevant to the situation. I'm just gonna get straight into the day of his murder, where it was in the evening. But I'm gonna tell you the last thing I remembered about him, it was kind of stuck with me, is that when we went to dinner that night at Columbia CI, is like a square prison with all the buildings around the outside fences around that, but everything happens inside of that square. There's 4 quadrants divided like this, 2 dorms per quadrant approximately. In those yards, you don't, the whole prison doesn't go to a yard together. You go, and usually you and another dorm go. And in the center of this compound is a big tower that is a circle around it. And to go almost anywhere, you have to pass through that circle where the tower's at. Obviously, you got guards with the guns. They got different options. They got live ammo. They got tear gas, beanbag guns, etc. And so, when you're going anywhere, this is where you're most scrutinized at. There's always usually a sergeant at the center gate. Sometimes it's an officer. And, you're going single file. You're going to chow. You have to come around this circle. And again, this is when they're looking at your haircut. They're looking at your outfit to find something to critique and, whatnot, harass you. And this particular day, it was a Sunday, and I don't know if it was March 12th, it was March something. It's in the records. Um, we're going to chow. Sergeant Thomas is the center gate guard. He's standing out there, dude, clean shaven head, shaped up little beard, young dude, early 20s. You look at him from the shoulder up, you think he's like maybe a fit guy, tough guy, but really he was bad body. But he just, you couldn't see it in the face. But he had a real chip on his shoulder, real hard on. I wasn't with him. See, Columbia, you have the main unit, you have the annex. This is a particular spot. We were at the annex is where this is happening. He had previously started at the main unit. When he made sergeant, they sent him to the annex. And that is an important point that we'll get back to. But apparently, I wasn't at the main unit when he was coming up. Like I said, I only been there 11 months. But apparently, just like in anything, you look up to the people that, show you the game and model your habits after these individuals. Well, apparently there was another sergeant that molded him. That was kind of a, hard-on kind of guy. And Sergeant Thomas was mimicking this, just from what I understand. I'm walking through the center gate, and I'm like, look at this dude. He's standing there. Most COs carry a little gas canister on their thing, on their belt. Certain officers like Security 9, the ones controlling the yard, they rock a big leg holster with a can this big nozzle. We call it Black Jesus. And they got it on there. This ain't ever gonna come out unless it's like a real somebody's busting off and they're refusing to stop resisting, whatever. It's a violent situation, and they're gonna go out there and spray these people. Otherwise, you don't never see this come off of off these cops' hip. Sergeant Thomas, on the other hand, everybody's walking nice and civil through the center gate, going to chow, boom. Don't nobody want no smoke. This dude got the canister out the holster, and he's sitting there with it in his hand like this. He got these big frame Oakleys on, and he's just looking like a straight killer with a Draco in his hand, just mugging everybody in line, posturing, all this macho-ish with the can out. I mean, what's that about? You know what I mean? It's highly irregular. I never stood in 24 years. I never seen another officer doing that. I seen them barking. I seen them get in your face, all types of stuff. But I never seen none of them already had the big Black Jesus out in their hand. Basically provoking somebody to say something. That's just a side note. It stuck with me because of what happened later. You know what I mean? It was just like a snapshot of this guy's demeanor, and a reason why it didn't have to be this way. There's hundreds and thousands of correction officers that punch that clock, come into prison, do their job, punch the clock again, and go home to their family every day. And some of them are hard asses, but some of them are fair hard asses. And it's just like anything. You got different types of people, but we're not gonna get into that today. So fast forward, that was around five-ish in the evening. We all ate dinner. Go back, you got a couple counts, TV's on. Everybody's doing what they're doing in their dorms. This is T dorm. Got 4 quadrants in the dorm, much like 4 quadrants in the prison overall. It's like a butterfly style. There's 4 wings. You walk into the dorm. There's a sally port. A little hallway area that fronts these big glass walls that look into each block. If you've watched anything, on different lockups, stuff like that, it's similar. In the middle is the big officer station. It's a big station. You know what I mean? Where they're up there, glass everywhere, where they can see everything, almost 360. To the back is their bathroom and all that, and the door that they come in and out of. But T1, first quad to the left, T2 over here. But if you go around, it's kind of like a horseshoe. If you go around to the right, you got T3 immediately, and in the corner is T4. I was in T4, and T4 is the setting for this drama. We're in there. I live in cell 12 upstairs. I'm up there in the corner. It's like the dorm being, each quad is like a corner, a quadrant of a square is shaped like an L. You got a long tier of like 12 cells, and you got a shorter tier of, I think, 4 right here. And you have a stairway coming down this way, and you have a stairway at this one close to the front door of the quad. I'm up here upstairs, one cell away from the corner cell right here at this corner. And master roster count, it's like the main, most counts, you just sit on your bunk, you get counted, they go about their business over quick. Master roster count in the Florida Department of Corrections, you have to have your ID, and you have to give your name, DC number, and they walk around with a paper, and it's a little more formal, the most formal of a count, and it precedes lockdown, depending on the place, by 30 minutes. Some camps lock down right after that. Some let you back out for an hour, as was the case here. So we have master roster count. Apparently, I'm not paying attention to it. It's Sunday night. I'm listening to Live in the Den with Big Tig. This is before we had MP3s and MP4s. All we had was AM and FM radio, which was, how it was for most of the time in the joint. So I'm up in my room minding my business, nothing really going on, and count clears. That's usually when it was a race to the water fountain. Everybody would get their hot water, their cold water, or run down to their seat to watch whatever programming they're getting ready to watch. I need some water in my water bottle, so I jump down and I go to walk out my cell door. Normally, I go straight to the left where the short corner is, because the staircase is closer right here on the short side of the L. Showers are across from here. And this particular time, just as I'm going to walk out the door, I see Sergeant Thomas has already come up the steps, and he's coming this way, and he's basically right here in this corner to the left of my cell. Well, as I mentioned, me and him had some run-ins. He'd been at me. He locked up some of my homeboys that was in my cell with my phone. They had to flush. And he had never quite been able to catch me doing nothing. Lord knows I'd lost plenty getting flushed or tossed, but he hadn't caught me with nothing. So I was still out there, able to try to make something happen. And so there was a little bit of tension between us. So when I see him coming this way, I don't even want to brush shoulders with him or even come near him or have any interaction with him. So I immediately swivel and I go the other way, the long way around, down cell 1, down the stairs towards the front of the quad, and across the day room, and I walk to the water fountain. I fill my bottle up. Now I'm going back the short way. So I walk to the stairs, I get to him, and it's just as I remember vividly, I put one foot on the first rung of the stairs when I hear the unmistakable sound of a fight. Anybody that ever heard some fights know what it is, especially in prison with concrete, etc. Smack of us, flesh on flesh, slipping and sliding, like a basketball court or something. I'm like, oh, in my mind, I had even already forgot that he was even in here. I'm just thinking, okay, another fight. So I don't like run and go see what's going on, but I just slowly moonwalk backward, and I'm coming back till I can look straight up into cell 6. Soon as I get there to look up, I see Sergeant Thomas coming out the door, gripping his hands on the doorway and pulling himself up out of there like he got demons trying to drag him down into a portal in the hell or something. Pulling up out of there, his face, there was some blood, but not a lot of blood, but his face was like blood red and like the look of most absolute terror on his face as he's just like, ugh. He gets up out of there and he starts running, stumbling down the tier the same way I had just walked towards cell one in the front of the quad. Now, just a little snapback of my thoughts. I immediately juxtaposed this mean unit he had on his face with his Oakleys and his big black Jesus can in his hand hours previously to this look of pure terror, and just thought to myself, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I knew you was a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And that might be harsh, but I mean, this is the mentality of prison. I'm gonna, keep it 100 with you. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna explore. We're gonna get into, you know, these morals, this gangster's mentality, all of this, who I was, who I've been, what I've become. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna give it to you real. What in the moment, each moment, whether it's a story about me stabbing somebody or me saving somebody from getting stabbed or whatever, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I felt, what my motivations were. So that's what I thought. I said, damn, where's that tough guy ish we just seen out there in that center gate? Let's play. Back to the action. I don't know. I'm not even thinking, oh, who lives in that room? I'm not thinking none of that. I'm just like, obviously, like everybody, man, what the hell? And he goes running, stumbling, gets to the steps. I mean, you could tell, especially in hindsight, knowing what happened in the cell, which I'll catch you up on. I just want to give you the live blow, blah, blow. That he had been rocked or something. Because he was like stumbling and almost wiped out going down the stairs, but caught himself on the rail. But he was getting down. Now I look up and I see a dude named Naughty. We call him Naughty. By the way, ain't ever gonna be no snitching on this channel. Fool on death row for this right now. Being convicted in the court of law is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but still, I ain't gonna give it government or nothing like that. But Naughty, dude, I know, quiet, real quiet black guy, militant. You know what I mean? I just come across him in passing. Sometimes I forget he was even a quad because he was so quiet and so ducked off. He just had like a small little circle of a couple people that he would vibe with. But dude was like, you 6-pack built, had just those great genetics, that anybody is, in the fitness and all that with dreams of having. But I see him coming out, and he comes out, but then he turns back around, goes back into the cell, comes back out, and when he's coming out of the cell, I see a hand motion, something like this. Immediately in my mind, I say, "Oh, he went and grabbed a lock," because there's something about this hand motion that you see a lot of times when people have a lock. Because usually in prison, when you attack somebody with your combination lock, a lot of people say lock and a sock. Well, it rhymes, so that's what you hear more. But really, a sock is impractical. I've been attacked with one before, and the damn bottom dude got one whack off, and then the bottom of the sock ripped out, and it flew out. And really, what's most practical is either a black belt that they used to issue when we still had button-up pants, loop it around there, or more recently, because they took away the belts and the button-up pants and gave us stretch pants, and a canteen bag, nylon blue mesh knit bag, click it up around there, wrap it up, choke it up. And that's what usually people will do. They'll wrap it around their fist because you don't want your lock out like this. Now you're flailing. You might whack yourself. You don't have as much control. So you usually choke up on it. You just want to give it a little room to swing, but you want to, have it more control over it. So when I see him go like this, that's just mentally, with all the recognition of, seeing stuff countless times. Oh, he got a lot. What are you going to do? But then as I see further, I see in his left hand right here, he's down like this, a knife about this long. A matawaka, as we would say, cow killer, bone crusher, whatever, this long. And I recognized where it came from instantly. There was a batch of these knives going around Colombia. There were the drainage gutters on the outside of dorms, the piece of metal that affixed them to the side of the wall. People were popping them off, straightening them. I mean, this was some thick metal, and sharpening them up. And it was very, very like just scary knowing that that's floating around, because this is what people told him. And so I instantly like, oh snap! Just all this happening in seconds, these little thoughts. But he moving slow. That's what. So I'm like, dang, he gonna get a Sergeant Thomas gonna make it out the door because the door is wide open. And Naughty, I always said it kind of like jokingly. He reminded me of like a black Michael Myers. Michael Myers when he come in the movie, he don't never run after nobody. He just walking like a brisk walk, but he always catch up to everybody. That's what I thought of this then, because I'm like, nah, he still got like this cool and collective vibe to him. And he come down the steps. And this is a small little detail that really was a difference in Sergeant Thomas surviving and not. The doors there, older prisons have like doors that push open and slam closed. If it had been a door like that, he'd have got away, got to the bubble, they'd have called, the squad, and they'd have rolled on Naughty, and it'd have been over with. And but these newer style buildings, they're on a electronic motor, and the door had been open all the way. So when Sergeant Thomas got through the door, the officer in the bubble, he immediately started closing the door, but the door's just closing at a steady pace. Naughty gets there just as it's closing, like something out of Indiana Jones movie, sliding up under there, reaching back and grabbing his hat. Naughty gets through there, boom, right before it bams. Now, still, Sergeant Thomas got a little bit of chance. He's got a head start on him. Some of these types of buildings, other facilities, these types of dorms, they have entry into the officer station bubble from each side. So if you're coming out of the quad 3, you can go right to the door. If you're coming out of quad 2, you can go right to the door. This particular setup, there was only the door on the quad 2 side. So Sergeant Thomas has to run around the officer station and get to it. So he's going around. As they bend the corner, we lose sight of it, but right here between like the lower part of the officer station, which is, blue metal, and then the windows where you can see the officers, it's a blind spot. But right where the officers come in, it's more glass from floor to ceiling with some bars for security going across it. But you can see straight through there over into quad 2. So once they got around to that side, we're all at the glass, like just looking like, definitely most interesting thing that happened that day. We're watching. Sergeant Thomas gets to the door, boom, goes in, but just as he's going to close the door behind him, Naughty catches up to him. Now, in my mind, I'm like, this is one thing I always learn. Resistance. You always got to put up a fight. You know what I'm saying? You can never lose total. I mean, no matter how you go down, it's always going to be worse if you just straight run. And however futile you might see, someone has a knife, whatever they might have. And we're going to get into, we're going to have episodes all about encountering people with knives and or being the one with the knife. So if he'd have just got to that door, if he'd have threw a kick, if he'd have swiped at him and then slammed the door, he might have stood a chance, anything. But he just was on straight flight mode, and Naughty was able to catch the door before he could slam it shut. And bam, now he's in there with him with a space. What is this? 4x4 little space. There's a bathroom here where the officer bathroom is, a door to it, and there's another door and some steps that go up into the officer station. They're stuck right here in between this area. Naughty immediately grabs him. We're looking at it. We're maybe 6 to 7 feet maximum away watching. Naughty grabs him, and he brings the knife in an upward, downward thrusting, just like this. And he catches Sergeant Thomas right around this general area of the neck, collarbone area. It's too dark. We can't see like exact where it's making contact, but multiple, he catches him. Vroom, vroom. Strong dude, hard, very, very dangerous knife, soft neck. It was over with. He hit him, but in the moment, everything's happening fast. How you see him hit him? I don't even remember seeing Naughty walk out. It's just I see the body drops, and we're like, obviously, like, damn. And I don't see Naughty again. Apparently, I find out later he snuck into T2 and like was kind of like hid out there for a while until they had to come in force and get him. He ended up getting another officer and taking another officer's eye out that came in there, but that was later. I didn't see none of that, so I ain't gonna talk about it. But I'm sitting here watching like, okay, bam, he hits the ground. The officer in the station, he can't come up out the bubble and leave it secure, but he's got the door open and he's like down the steps, like you can basically, you can't hear him from where we're at, but you can basically tell he's probably like calling him, like, come on. He's trying to coax Sergeant Thomas to crawl up these steps and get up in here because he can't go to him. But Sergeant Thomas, I can't even see him no more. It's like a little lip where all the glass is. There's a little lip of, metal or whatever you can't see through the frame of the whole thing. We can't see his body really from there. But the fact, I remember it hit me, and I even think I said it out loud to whoever was standing next to me. I was like, he can't even get up. He can't even crawl. You know what I mean? He can't even, and that's when like hit me. Like obviously, like I done seen a lot of. I'm gonna tell you more. So I done seen people that you were sure was dead. I done stabbed people that I was sure was dead, and they lived. And the body can be, human body is a resilient organism. So when I thought, yeah, you might think like, okay, yeah, naturally, he to the neck, oh, he's dead. Well, I don't ever make these assumptions because usually they live. That's what I come to find out in the joint, anyways. But he's not even moving. I'm thinking like, dang, he can't even crawl up the steps. He can't make nothing, and that's why I knew right then he's out of there. Whether he's dead right now or not, or there's no way that he gonna hang on until they get him where he need to be. And so, and I might say, Kyle, maybe I should even leave it up. I'm gonna keep it real all the time. My first thought, I mean, I'm as we say, chain ganged out, institutionalized at the time. I've already been locked up at this point like 15 years, and you already know, like, oh shoot, we about to get locked down for a long time. We about to get flipped, shook down. We about to go through it, and so I'm a big coffee drinker, cafetero, and so I was like, dang, when you in locked down in your room, you ain't got no hot water. The stuff out the sink isn't hot enough for coffee. So I was like, I need to get some water. Man, I run up to my cell, grab my cup, throw a shot of coffee in there real quick, run back down, get some hot water. By this time, I guess his radio and different stuff of Sergeant Thomas is left in that room, and people like throwing around, jumping. People like basically like acting a fool. And I get back to my, boom, go back to my cell. My roommate, we just like crazy. But to rewind and give you what I learned later on, what initiated it in the room was during count time, the guys up there in cell 6, they had somebody, like one of the cleaners to be out there during count, go push the button and say, hey, Sarge, cell 6 top has water dripping from the air conditioning vent. Boom. So that's when he came in immediately after count time. That was like what he had said, like, okay, what cell is it that got this water dripping? That's what he was coming to check on when I almost passed him but went the other way. Well, he go up in the cell, and apparently they're like, hey, yeah, Sarge, look, blah, 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 water keep coming out my thing. As soon as he goes up there and looks, knocked him out. As soon as he was out, I don't know if the plan to kill him came afterwards or what, but he wasn't stabbed there. I say there because there was another person in the cell, but I don't know the part that was played. You know what I'm saying? I just know what I saw. And they took everything up off of him. They got his wallet, they got his belt, everything he had, his Oakleys, all that stuff they stripped up off of him. And when he came to, struggled free and got out, which is all what I saw, all that was left in the room. I mean, credit card stuff like that. And so that's how that went down. We get locked down, and FDLE comes in there, interrogating people getting shipped, moved out, stuff getting flipped. I had a pair of Versace sunglasses in there in the joint, Versace sunglasses. Them got took. Porno mags, which aren't allowed in Florida chain gang, had them. They got took. And on top of that, there was grooves in the back of my cell where people, you sharpen a knife on concrete. That's how you take that metal and you run it on some rough concrete, and that's what's going to give you that edge. Somebody had done that in my cell previously, so there was deep grooves. So they're just looking for any reason to harass people. I'm not even going to get into that because that's not the context of this story, but they, threatened to lock me up about that, but me and my roommate shook up out of it. And the aftermath was crazy. And I think I'm going to go ahead and lead the aftermath for when I tell this whole narrative, because I said this is just one crazy event in this period of my life right here, where it was crazy most of the time. Cops running down all the time, steady trying to make moves, and introducing contraband into the prison, just trying to make money. That's all we just trying to do, just trying to get money, be secure, and it's all gonna be put into context. Oh, and I nearly forgot to mention the whole motive behind this murder. Apparently, within the year prior, when Nadi was over at the main unit, he was jumped by a group of officers. I don't know what caused the situation, but all I know is that a group of officers, including Sergeant Thomas, beat Nadi, locked him up, and then when he got out, they left him at the annex. All the officers involved was at the main unit. They got this guy, they jumped, just like many people, they beat inmates, lock them up, whatever, and they think none of it, they keep it moving. It's just, very rarely do they suffer real consequences for that. But in this case, they jumped somebody who already had 2 life sentences, who had nothing to lose, and valued his, honor and his respect over everything. And lo and behold, one of the guys involved in jumping him gets promoted to sergeant, gets transferred next door to the annex, and becomes the dorm sergeant of his very dorm. And that's Sergeant Thomas. He became the dorm officer which housed this man that he had jumped and thought nothing about it. He might not even remember that particular beating, however many he may have been involved in. But that's the part I almost forgot to mention, is that was the entire motive. Nadi just didn't decide to kill an officer if it was revenge for him. Take from that what you will. But yeah, that was the crazy situation where, this man lost his life, and it's just obviously painful for his family, painful for everybody involved. I mean, the people that were close to him, that loved him, they didn't know what type of person he was inside this institution, and whatever, they probably wouldn't care. But I just want to wrap this up though with a message of hope though, because while there's no hope for the people that were directly involved in that situation, one sitting on death row, I seen them years later at FSP, and one's gone. This is just one representation of what I went through, this storm that I had to pass through, a storm that lasts 24 years. And an affliction, you go compare it to anything. You can compare it to a bout of sickness, injuries, depression, whatever. These hard periods that you face in life. Some of them are short, some of them are long. Sometimes it might just be a little ailment that lasts a week or two, whatever it may be. But this story is just, I take it as a representation of all the pain that I encountered and had to deal with in this time period in prison. And I just want to use it as a demonstration that while I was in that pain, I didn't think I was gonna make it through there. I didn't think it was gonna ever come to an end. You sitting there, you got 5, 6, 7 years, you've already been in prison. Your past and all the things that you had before, they're totally gone and out of the picture now. You know what I'm saying? You're not all the people that was in your life, they ain't in your life. All that's gone. But in the future, still, at the time of this story, I still had 11, 12 years left to do. And so there was many moments of hopelessness, as far as like, I ain't never gonna make it up out of here. I'm not gonna see the other side of this. I'm not gonna see, and I think that's how most of us feel when we're in some type of bad funk, injury, something that just won't get right, and it's lasting, it's going on. And it's like, is this my new normal? Is this what it is? This is all I got left to look forward to? And I just want to share as maybe a source of hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, even as impossible as it may seem. I mean, all of this craziness that I'm going to keep going through chapter after chapter, we're going to go through and we're going to chop it up, man. Again, subscribe if you haven't already done it. Hit that notification bell. And go ahead and give me a like button if you're feeling me, you know what I'm saying? And comment, question, all that. But the message for today is just no matter how the odds might seem against you, that you ever gonna make it up out of this situation, that things are ever gonna change. I spent 24 years of this same pain with no guarantee up until the last day, wondering is it gonna be something that's gonna pop off? Is a case I had from back in the day gonna pop up? They're gonna take me up there and read me my rights. You know what? But I made it through it. I'm out here. I've been out here 10 months and now I'm doing everything I dreamed of. And you can make it out too. You will make it out the other side. You just gotta keep persevering. And what we do, we take this pain and we use it to motivate, let it motivate us to find a way out. Just by trying to find the ways to end the pain, a lot of times we build skills that we can use later on, currently, whatever. But that's my point here, is that we taking bad and turning it to good. Whether it's bad characteristics we have within ourselves or it's a bad situation we find ourselves in, we about working to change that bad into good. And we take all the pain that we're forced to suffer and turn it into progress. Man, I hope y'all taking something from this message. Y'all stay blessed.